Alright, welcome back everyone. Let's just jump right in because today's explainer covers something absolutely foundational to human history. I mean, before the written word was even common, way before the empires we usually study even drew breath, humanity was already out there telling these incredibly profound stories. So today, we are going to explore humanity's absolute oldest surviving epic, the tale of Gilgamesh.
Now, I really want you to consider the sheer mind-boggling scale of the timeline we're dealing with today. As budding historians, we often think of ancient Egypt or ancient Greece as the literal dawn of civilization. But millennia ago, long before the first stones of the Great Pyramids of Giza were even cut, and honestly, centuries before the mythological legends of Greece were ever even whispered, this story emerged from the fertile lands of Mesopotamia. We are peering directly into the very cradle of human storytelling here.
Okay, here's our syllabus for today's explainer. We're going to break this down thematically. We'll start with the dawn of the great city, move into civilization meets the wild, and then face monsters and divine wrath. From there, we'll examine the reality of death, the quest for immortality, and finally wrap up with humanity's oldest enduring legacy.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, Dawn of the Great City, Uruk and its tyrant king.
I want you to transport yourselves back thousands of years to Uruk. It's a bustling metropolis right in the heart of Mesopotamia. Imagine these towering walls, magnificent, sprawling temples, and a thriving population just trying to figure out the dawn of urban life. And right at the center of this incredible city was King Gilgamesh. Now, the text tells us he possessed extraordinary strength and wisdom. He was, for all intents and purposes, a king endowed with almost godlike qualities. But there was a massive problem. His immense power bred this totally unchecked arrogance. He wasn't a benevolent leader, right? He was a tyrant. His hubris was so overwhelming, and his rule so unbelievably heavy-handed that his own people basically lived in constant fear. In their desperation, the citizens of Uruk actually turned their eyes upward, praying fervently to the gods for just some kind of relief from their oppressor.
Which brings us to Section 2, Civilization Meets the Wild, and the creation of Enkidu.
So, to counter Gilgamesh's tyranny, the gods answer those prayers by literally molding a wild man out of clay. His name is Enkidu, and this brilliantly illustrates the epic's central thematic tension, right? It's the ultimate clash between civilization and untamed nature. Think about it. You've got Gilgamesh, the absolute apex of the civilized world, an arrogant king hiding behind towering walls in a complex society. And then you have Enkidu, who is pure, unfiltered nature. He's completely untamed, running around with beasts, and he knows absolutely zero about human civilization. Well, eventually a traveler spots Enkidu out in the wilderness and brings news of him back to Uruk. And the stage is perfectly set for this wild, untamed nature to walk right through the front gates of civilization.
So what exactly happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object?
Well, in academic terms, we essentially get antiquity's very first heavyweight title fight. Enkidu finally travels out of the wilderness and enters the human world, and when he reaches the grand city of Uruk, he doesn't bow to the king. No way. He challenges him. The two strongest men in the known world collide in this earth-shattering epic battle right there in the dusty streets of the city.
But here is where the narrative takes a really beautiful turn. This wasn't a fight to the death. The epic tells us that neither warrior could actually defeat the other. The whole battle just ended in a draw. And in that mutual exhaustion, a profound respect was born. The fierce rivalry just melted away, totally replaced by this unbreakable bond. The arrogant king and the wild man became inseparable friends, brothers in arms whose combined power was, frankly, unmatched. Moving right along to Section 3, Monsters in Divine Wrath, the Cedar Forest and the Bull of Heaven.
Now, eager to etch their names into history, the brothers decide to journey to the forbidden cedar forest. But it was protected by Humbaba, and I really want you to appreciate the cinematic tension of the original text here. It says, Humbaba was a monstrous giant whose roar could shake mountains. I mean, wow, he was the literal personification of ancient, terrifying nature. And yet, these two heroes, fueled by their combined might and honestly probably a lingering sense of hubris, they stood their ground against him. And their subsequent victories, completely legendary in scale. I mean, after a fierce, harrowing struggle, they actually pull it off. They defeat the monstrous giant Humbaba, and they strut back into Uruk, celebrated as absolute legends. But of course, their arrogance returned right alongside them.
Gilgamesh actually goes so far as to reject the romantic advances of the goddess Ishtar, and enraged by this ultimate mortal insult, Ishtar seeks revenge. She unleashes the apocalyptic bowl of heaven right upon Uruk. Yet again, our heroes fight back, and they ultimately conquer the mighty beast. At this point, they seem utterly invincible.
But class, as we've seen in so many ancient mythologies, actions against the divine always carry a heavy price. Defeating the bull of heaven, that crossed a major theological line. The gods convene and basically decide that Gilgamesh and Enkidu have simply gone too far. Their deadly arrogance required divine retribution. A terrible, absolutely inescapable punishment awaited them, and it was going to strike exactly where it hurt the most.
This brings us to Section 4, the reality of death and the fall of Enkidu. Now, the gods didn't strike down the tyrant king. Instead, they decreed that Enkidu must be the one to pay the price. As Enkidu falls gravely ill and slowly slips away, Gilgamesh, this invincible man who could defeat mountain-shaking giants and celestial bulls, is entirely powerless. Standing there, staring at the body of his brother, a profound, chilling terror takes hold of him. For the very first time in his life, the harsh reality of mortality completely shatters his worldview. The question hits him with the force of a physical blow. Wait, even kings could die? This right here is the pivot of the entire epic. It instantly transitions from this action-packed heroic myth into a deeply philosophical inquiry into the human condition, which sparks Section 5, the quest for immortality, discovering the secret of eternal life. So absolutely terrified of sharing Enkidu's fate, Gilgamesh just abandons his kingdom. Stripped of his royal finery, literally wearing animal skins, the once arrogant tyrant sets out on a desperate, solitary mission to the very edges of the known world. This harrowing journey eventually leads him to a figure named Utnapishtim. Now, in Mesopotamian lore, Utnapishtim was this legendary man who had survived a great cataclysmic flood long ago. It's actually a narrative that strongly parallels the later biblical story of Noah. Anyway, for his actions during this flood, the gods had granted Utnapishtim the one thing Gilgamesh sought above everything else: true immortality.
Let's move to the conclusion of this quest here and see how this builds into some massive, tragic irony. Step 1, he finally locates Utnapishtim, who reveals a massive secret. There's a magical plant of eternal youth hidden deep beneath the sea. Step 2, against all odds, Gilgamesh dives down and actually retrieves it. He thinks his quest is totally complete, but fate had other plans. On the exhausting journey back, Gilgamesh stops to rest by a pool of water, and while he sleeps, a simple serpent slithers up, steals the magic plant, sheds its skin, and vanishes forever. He lost it. Just because he took a nap, immortality literally slips right through his fingers.
Finally, Section 6, humanity's oldest enduring legacy, returning to Uruk.
So, Gilgamesh is forced to return to the great city of Uruk. I mean, think about it. He has walked to the ends of the earth, he's fought monsters, he's spoken with ancient survivors, and he comes back with absolutely empty hands. But while his hands were empty, his heart was profoundly wiser. When he finally approaches the massive walls of his city, the very walls he helped build, he realizes the ultimate thesis of his entire journey. The text suggests this beautiful universal truth that he finally just accepts. Immortality lies not in living forever, but in the legacy we leave behind. He looks at the enduring city of Uruk, realizing that this civilization and how he chooses to lead it is his true eternal life.
And here we are, thousands of years later, sitting in this lecture hall, analyzing his story. So Gilgamesh actually has, ironically, achieved the immortality he sought, just not at all the way he expected. It's wild how the core lessons from this ancient text still perfectly mirror our modern human condition, isn't it? We learn that friendship outlasts even the greatest kings. We see that courage, both physical and emotional, truly defines the human journey. And perhaps most poignantly of all, we recognize that true wisdom is so often gained only through deep, devastating loss. I want to leave you all with a final, provocative thought to chew on as we wrap up today's explainer. We just explored the oldest story ever written by human hands. And it tells us that a tyrannical king ultimately found his salvation not in some magic plant, but in the enduring works and the people he left behind. Gilgamesh learned that true immortality is found in legacy. So as you pack up, step out of class today, and continue your own journeys, ask yourselves, what will yours be? Thank you so much for your focus today, everyone. I'll see you next time.